Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. So for the sake of just staying within time, I am also going to read something which I've previously timed, and it came out to 5 minutes. So hopefully I can do that again. So here I go. When I began my CICI summer research project, I had two goals. I wanted to explore a set of readings in the field of Caribbean studies, Black study, and Eco Poetics, foregrounded at times by a shared historical and geographic archive, while at other times predicated instead on a field of what I called elemental affinities, air and ocean water were of particular interest to me. My second goal, perhaps more of an experiment, was to play with modes of critical writing that rendered the boundary between critical modes and poetic creation a bit more porous. I will try to give a sense of what went on and what continues to go on with miasma tropes, the title I have given to a manuscript to be filed for an MA in creative writing in the English department. Oh, by the way, I'm a comparative literature PhD student and also affiliated with the program in critical theory. The term miasma is a good point of departure since it links a few threads in my research. Miasma theory is a pseudoscientific offshoot of geographical determinism that became popular in the 18th and 19th centuries. It recurs in both historical documents and also in looser field notes or crónicas that sought to make sense of new colonial acquisitions. These early sciences of Caribbean space attempted to explain the weakness of a racialized body in the Caribbean through a theory of bad air that justified the necessity for discipline, hygiene, and population control. Focusing on Fray Íñigo Abad y la Sierra 1788 treatise Historia Geográfica Civil y Natural, Puerto Rico's first official history, I sought to read for the ways that miasma theory both named a historically contingent affliction to be cured by Western reason, and how it also sketched out a set of shapes and elements that exceeded the purpose of these hygienic sciences. I tracked the figure of what quote, a universal warehouse used by Abad, a world-covering cloud consisting of every breath ever breathed, all the rotting flora, fauna, and human forms, as well as the rising fumes from swamps and mucks, ecosystems which, coincidentally, were also the locations of fugitive maroon life world in the Caribbean and the hemispheric Americas. I was interested in how this fixation on a collective vapor, at once fully formed and formless, identifiable yet invisible to an untrained eye, could perform so many things at the same time within a text. This image of bad air highlights a crisis of knowledge at play in the tension between land and territorialization. It also suggested a continuity in the history of thought forms, since the concept of a universal warehouse perhaps later mutated into the figure of Hegelian spirit of Weltgeist we would encounter in the following century. Finally, and of special interest to me, bad air obliquely pointed towards a location-specific aesthetic and figural life in the region, if we are also to read for the way that writers and artists of the circum-Caribbean region and its transits have inscribed or breathed back into that history of cursed atmosphere in order to name or give a sense to a commons in excess of national boundaries and of the abstractions of political representation. This last thread connected me to one of the goals I set out to pursue: to practice, by way of creative collaboration with an archive, new pathways in the comparative study of location by tracking the mutation of a given set of local figures. I made this last concern my focus for the rest of the summer, reading for versions of Bad Air and Aimé Césaire's Négritude, in the aesthetics of Puerto Rican spirit possession practices, and in the nocturnal geographies of Caribbean descent, and finally, in the spatial temporal figure of the undercommons in Fred Moten and Stefan Harney's work. Some of this ongoing research was published in the latest issue of Key, a new online project overseen by the editorial board of Berkeley's own KeyPout. I'd like to thank the CICI Summer Grant for the helpful financial support and the editors of Key for the opportunity to collaborate, especially to my wonderful editor, B. Scherenberg. Thank you for your time, everybody.